Welcome to my channel, Love, Light, Liberty, and I'm your host, Rox Light. Today is Sunday, September 7th, and tonight we are the full moon in Pisces. We're currently in Virgo season, but the opposite of Virgo is Pisces. That's why the full moon is in Pisces. Think of the yin and the yang to keep the balance. So it's Virgo and Pisces. Tonight's full moon also is a lunar eclipse. So, this is the last lunar eclipse for the year. It's also called the harvest moon because in the fall, that's when the harvest comes in. And the Virgo maiden represents the harvest. So, not everyone's going to be able to see the eclipse. It really depends on where you are in the world. But they also call it tonight the blood moon because the moon is supposed to appear in orange in color. Tonight's show is three parts. The first part, well, I will go over the full moon card and the new moon card, and also the eclipse card for tonight. The second part will be the mystery show and tell item, and the third part is, of course, the spooky ghost stories. And I hope you guys sit back, relax, get yourself a cup of coffee or tea, and enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody, to Show and Tell Stories, episode 9. Today is Sunday, September 7th, and tonight's full moon is going to be the full moon in Pisces. But tonight's special moon is because it is a lunar eclipse. And this is the second lunar eclipse for 2025. We're not going to have any more. We had one earlier in the year in March. Okay, before we get started, I'm going to light the candles and ring the bell. Even though you can't hear the bell, I'm still going to ring it anyway. So let's get started. It's been such a rainy day today and kind of dreary. I kind of want to set the mood for that. It's been really lovely. We have been waiting for the weather to change and the rain, for sure. Look at this, you guys. I got this at Dollar Tree. It is adorable. It's a little pumpkin and you put a light in it. I just thought it was cute. Okay, so we're gonna go over the Moonology cards for the month, which is from this deck here, the Oracle cards. Let's ring the bell. So let's do the Eclipse card first, okay? This one says conclusions are within reach. Conclusions are within reach. Hopefully you can see that. All right. The full moon eclipse, just like that, the door slams shut. If you pulled this card, it suggests that the situation you're asking about is about to reach a peak or has just done so, and things are now out of your hands. What you're experiencing now is what your soul signed up for, a way for you to learn and for your soul to evolve. So allow events to unfold and be easy on yourself. If you're letting go of someone or something, know it's the right time, as hard as it might be. Forgiving someone for what they did could be the key to resolving this situation in a positive way. It doesn't make right what they did, but it releases it so you can move on. Attune to the moon. What is meant for me will not pass me by. Additional meanings for the card is the doors which slam shut now will not reopen. It's time for you to get back on track. Forgiveness will set you free of karma. Meditation and yoga are all recommended now. Let go of control and let events unfold. And the teaching of the card is full moons are nearly always about climaxes and very often about conclusions. Full moon eclipses are the same but on steroids. A full moon eclipse can be hard to handle because It involves change, something many of us are uncomfortable with. But change is part of life, and this card, no matter when you pull it, reminds you of that fact. Full moon eclipses can also give you a glimpse into what Carl Jung called the shadow self work with your darkness. So, what I made a few notes on this, and as far as shadow self, I don't know if everybody understands that, but it's just aspects of ourselves that we don't like about ourselves, whether it's a behavior or a habit or how we feel about something. Um, for example, maybe we feel negative too often, looking at the glass half empty all the time, and we need to work on that. The only way you can work on your shadow self is to be able to sit and reflect what it is and give yourself the time. That's why I was saying meditation and yoga, because that gives you some time to relax and think about things. Like I always say, we're in a busy society and everything's fast paced, and a lot of things go into our subconscious, and we don't really maybe focus on it. Another thing I'd like to say is I've learned to ask myself a lot lately when I'm in a situation is I'll ask myself, does this bring me happiness or joy? Because you got to go with what you're feeling. If you're just feeling like it's not for you or it's off or it's just don't feel right or pause, stop and pause and ask yourself, does this bring me joy? And if it doesn't, then don't do it anymore. Or find an alternative way to deal with something. Say, for instance, you don't like traffic. Find a different route to take, or find a different time to take when you're traveling so you're not stuck in it. Stuff like that. Like, life's too short to be unhappy, and we want to bring as much happiness and joy into our life, so we need to be vigilant about the details of our lives and not go through autopilot and just be miserable. So that's what I'd like to say about that. Now, a lot of you might not see the eclipse. It says it really depends on what part of the world you're in, or so it might not happen. And we're having like rainy, cloudy weather today, so I really doubt I'd be able to see anything. But if you'd like to look at it online, you can go to space.com, and I guess they have like a live stream of it where you can look at the eclipse. All right, our next card is going to be the full moon in Pisces. So I'm going to do this in increments because the software that I use only lets me like upload like 15 minutes at a time, and I don't want to go over because I like to talk a lot. And that way I can give each section at least 15 minutes if I need to. So bear with me. So our next card is the full moon in Pisces. And this one says balance spirituality and practicality. Balance spirituality and practicality. And here we have the two fish that represent Pisces, which are the yin and the yang, and the balancing of the zodiac sign Pisces. Have you been so head in the clouds that you've lost touch with reality? If so, take this part as a sign that you need to pay attention to make a concerted effort to move towards your goals. The more practical steps you can take, the better. It's time to find an inner balance between your responsibilities and your dreams. Meditate on your question, and the solutions to your issue may now come through very clearly. If you're in a tricky situation because you've been acting the martyr, this card may be a message from the cosmos to drop the act for everyone's sake. Attune to the moon. Meditate every day and see what comes to you. Answers will come. Additional meanings for the card. You're in a super romantic but not super realistic state. Follow your intuition. Don't let it won't let you down. At worst, this card can herald the end of a dream. The person you're inquiring about is a soulmate. Avoid substance abuse. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, so the full moon in Pisces symbolically marks endings. When the moon is full in Pisces, or whenever you pull this card, it's a time to dive deep into your emotions. Practicality is at odds with Piscean energies that have no borders. So feel your way now. Psychic ability is heightened when the full moon is in Pisces. And soulmates now connect. It is time to send out your dreams to the universe, releasing your fears. I don't think it's just heightened full moon for psychic alone, because today we got the eclipse. I think that's almost like doubles it. And there's also something else I'd like to add about this month that I feel is very powerful for Virgo is the fact that there's two new moons in the month that are in Virgo, which is kind of rare because every month it just shifts usually into the next new moon. But because of the calendar days, Virgo ended up with two new moons, which are two new starts. So we got two new starts, and then we got the lunar eclipse. So it just seemed like there's a lot of powerful energy this month. So let's see what I want to say about this one. I was looking up where it was saying if you're in a tricky situation because you're acting the martyr. Have you ever met somebody who acts like life is against them and they're being made an example of in the universe because everything bad's happening to them and they just want to focus on that and they're like drawing that energy to themselves. And the universe like stop that. Like, it's how we look at things, and you don't want to manifest any of that into your life. If you keep saying, "Oh, I just have bad luck all the time," and it just seems to gravitate towards you. Then you really have to shift your energy and thought process to positive thinking and words that you put out, because everything is um, basically like magic. Like if you throw a word out, say, think of the word as the stone you throw in the pond. And then it causes a ripple and it just keeps going out into the universe. What happened with that one stone? And that's the same thing on our words. When we project it out there, we don't know how far those words go out and who hears it and who reaches that what we're saying and who's responding to it. And I'm not talking about just in the physical world, but also in the spiritual world. So be careful about what you project out there. Try to be as positive, and I mean, not everything's like, rainbows and unicorns. I'm not saying that, but it's how we look at it and how we experience it. And it could be two people experiencing the exact same thing, and they both experience it very differently. I guess that's what makes us all individuals, right? Um, It's just saying, kind of like work towards your goals, and everything's a stepping stone. Um, there's levels of nursing, and I remember when I was kind of the lower nurse on the totem pole, and I would always say, I don't like to be that. I don't want to be that. That's not what I envision myself. And then one nurse says to me, everything's a stepping stone, and yeah, you're gonna have to get through this part to get to the next part, and that's just how it is. Then it just became clear that's the truth. I just need somebody to, I guess, tell it to me, the hard truth. And yeah, sometimes we go through life doing things that we're not probably wanting to do, or we think, nah, I'm not, I should be doing something else. But no, maybe you should be doing that right now. And don't be so, uh, get too far ahead of yourself, Just be in the moment, in the present, and experience that. All right, moving on to the new moon. Okay, so our new moon in Virgo is a time to give rather than take. And yeah, this new moon, we had it earlier in the end of August, August 23rd. And that was, and last month's show and tell stories, I went over this card. But if it happens twice, it's probably a message that they really want you to focus on and hear. So here it goes. When this card comes up, it's time for you to take stock of your situation. Where are you and what do you want and where do you want to go? The new moon energy of this card suggests a restart, and the Virgo energy suggests that you make that restart a clever one that's simple and well organized. Virgo also has a strong health aspect to it. So if you've been unwell, this card suggests that your health is on the up. Virgo loves eating clean and alternative therapies, so add those into your routines now. However you've been feeling. In a situation, if it's blocked at the moment, it could be that you're analyzing things or being too critical. It's time to ask less what someone else can do for you and think more about what you can do for others. Attune to the moon, recommit to healthy morning and evening routines. Additional meanings for this part is gradual improvements are coming. Pay attention to detail if you want success. Be of service to others, and love and money will follow. The person you're asking about is reliable. And then the teaching of this card is Virgo is a sign of health, service, and analysis. Its energy is precise and has a feel of harvest about it. When this card comes up, it could be it's a wonderful bounty is coming your way. However, the energy of the new moon is usually about getting your life in order. So that's what you need to do at this time of the Virgo new moon and whenever else you pull this card. Well, we're still in Virgo season until September 22nd. So this new moon is going to happen on September 21st, which is right at the end of Virgo season. And currently, the Virgo season is Earth sign, which is grounded, um, focused, you're a planner, goal orientated, stuff like that, that kind of energy. I want you to think of going through these moon cycles kind of like the weather. I mean, it changes and shifts, and we should shift accordingly. Like you shift when it's weather, like you say, well, how hot is it going to be today? Or is it going to rain? And then you go put on clothes or plan your day around the weather. You're not going to want to plan some outdoor activities if it's pouring rain, and if you have to go outside, you're going to wear some umbrella or a rain jacket. Same thing with these energies that are shifting throughout the months and through the zodiac seasons. They're like also kind of like the seasons that we have: winter, spring, summer, fall. We shift our energies because the world's shifting, and zodiac signs are like that, like the weather and the seasons. We should kind of just kind of ride that wave, or kind of pay attention to what they're saying, what kind of energy is going on right now, and be like, okay, well, I can kind of maybe fit that in my life right now. They want me to be super planned and focused on something. Okay, paying attention to detail. Okay, what can I do to work on that in my life right now? Because the energies are like a wave, and it pushes you. If you start working on what the energy is for the month, and it'll push you forward like a wind. Like you're not traveling against the wind, you're traveling with the wind, is basically what I'm saying. And that's all this stuff is about, is energies. And also, if you know if it's going to touch you or be like, oh, okay, I can relate to that. It makes sense. Okay, it says here, recommit to healthy mornings and evening routines. Well, we can all do that. You know, we can all pay attention to our healthy morning and evening routines. They say they love clean eating alternative therapies. We can all learn to eat better, that's for sure. And it was saying time to give rather than take. It's not about specifically money. Um, Virgos can give you their time and energy, or anybody can. And that's also something that you're giving out there in the universe is your time and energy to someone or a situation. So I want you to think about that. Well, I hope it helps. And like I said, it's kind of some powerful energy and going on right now. And a lot of times you might feel drained or energized or emotional. I mean, you just have to kind of go with however you feel for the day and kind of pay attention how you feel during a full moon or during an eclipse. All right, well, stay tuned for the second part of the show, which is the show and tell part. And so I got something exciting to share with you guys today. The show and tell part of show and tell stories. So this morning I woke up and the weather had finally shifted to in the 80s in the morning. And I always walk the dog, so I was very excited to finally be able to walk him in cooler weather. And so many of us have been waiting for fall to come and the season to change. Summer's been hot. It's been 100, and no rain, no rain, no rain. So finally today we got cooler weather and some rain. So very excited about that. So I wanted to talk about when I go for walks, a lot of it, my experience isn't just to walk, but to experience um, my surroundings and what nature looks like. I think a lot of people that go for walks tune out to life and maybe just put some ear AirPods in or whatever and just zone out. And I really want to be able to connect with um, nature in a way where I'm hearing the birds and I'm hearing the bugs, or I'm looking and seeing things that intrigue me. So, of course, now that it's fall, a lot of the leaves are changing colors, and I decided to pick up some leaves that I thought were pretty cute. And what I did was, I don't have a lamination machine, but what I did was I just put tape on both sides so it would seal it, and then I can like put it up as decor. Like if say you have a bulletin board and you want to like put some fall stuff, you can do that. But I was just gonna put it on my desk and I put some double-sided tape there. I don't want to burn myself here, but aren't these cute little leaves? Changed colors. And then I found some sticks and I put a stick up here and I was hanging some of the leaves that I made on it. But this one's a little metal leaf here, and then here's another little leaf over here. So I had something to hang leaves off of. And then I got this stick because I thought, well, that'd be cute. You can do art with these things. But a few weeks ago at the thrift store, I got this um, stone owl. And I thought he was pretty cute. I don't know why somebody don't want him. I wanted him. So I put him on the little wood stick right there. And then I took some other sticks that I found that were like, to me, nature's just beautiful. Like, oh, it's just a stick, Roxanne. Not really. People go to Hobby Lobby and buy these sticks and pay money for them and put them in vases and stuff. I just put that one in a vase. And then I took some more leaves and an old picture frame that I had, and I put them inside the picture frame. Well, I kind of had painted out this part gold for fall, and I put the leaves in there, and I thought, you know what, that makes a cute decor for fall, and it's just something I found outside. It's not anything I paid for. I already had all this other stuff, the paint and the frame, so I thought, well, why not? So I have it sideways here because it doesn't fit up and down. It would fit up and down this way, like you see that. I'd like to almost make a bigger version of different leaves that were like maybe um more red leaves and stuff like that. But so I was just trying to decorate my desk for today. And another thing when I walk is I find, well, this is in what's in my mystery box today. Um, there's different feathers. Some are the same old, and some aren't. This is a nice fluffy one. I don't know what bird it's from, but and I just keep picking them up. So today's feather that I found happened to be white on the end of its tip. And I pick up feathers all the time. Where I live, there's a lot of trees and birds, so they keep dropping feathers everywhere, and I keep picking them up. And all these are pretty much the same ones, just some black ones. What I'm gonna do is probably make myself a dream catcher, and I'll be putting that on. So this will be art. I could get so many I could make almost like a fan, but we'll see. But I thought these were really unique. I mean, they're all different, right? And it makes you appreciate creation and the variety. This is a feather I have already, but I don't know what what kind of bird, like I said, it belongs to. And then this one was a emu or ostrich feather, which they're very soft and fluffy looking. So because of the trees changing colors and it's fall, I wanted to read a little story about trees, and then we'll get on to the spooky ghost story after this. So today's fun story in the folklore is called Why the Trees Whisper. That's what I'm reading you. When the world was quite new and animals, plants, and people had only recently been created, there lived a man called Yamar. One morning he ventured into the forest to cut some wood to build a shelter and a fire. He spotted a tall, straight tree which looked perfect. As he lifted his axe and was about to strike a tree, it screamed out, "Please don't cut me down." "Why ever not?" asked the man. "Because I'm a pine tree, and my sap can help heal wounds," said the tree. The man stopped and considered this. Healing wounds was indeed useful. "Very well, I will spare you for another tree," he replied. He carried on walking and came by another large tree with ample branches that he thought would make excellent shelter. Once again he lifted his axe, but the tree called out, "Stop! Don't cut me down. I'm a walnut tree, and I grow tasty nuts." The man liked nuts and thought it would be handy to have a ready supply of snacks, so he lowered his axe and walked on. The next tree he saw had low branches and broad green leaves. He thought this tree would be excellent firewood, but again, just as he was about to start cutting, the tree wailed, "Oh, please don't cut me. I'm an oak tree and my branches protect the deer from the wind and the rain. Well, this is another helpful tree, the man thought. I can't cut it down. The man kept walking through the forest, growing weary as he went. Each tree he approached had a reason why it was especially useful, should be saved. The birch tree provided twigs to make brooms. The maple tree made sweet, delicious syrup, and the flexible wood and willow branches made it woven into baskets. He began getting very frustrated, but after hours and hours of walking, every single tree and its crying had convinced him of its worth. In despair, he shouted to the Creator, "How can I ever make a shelter or cook my dinner if I can't gather any wood? Every time I go cut down a tree, it cries and persuades me to leave it alone." The Creator felt sorry for the man and decided to strike the trees silent so they could no longer speak. The man was very grateful and now was able to cut down any tree he desired. But the trees were unhappy about losing their voices, and if you listen very carefully, you can hear them still whispering consoling words to one another. Well, they say trees talk to each other through the root system, maybe through their leaves too. Maybe they're like waving at each other and doing some kind of sign language or something, but the root systems seem to be all interconnected with each tree in the forest. So um, I find that interesting, and I think everything is a stage in life. So if a tree does get cut down, it's made into something else, or it also has a new purpose. For instance, this desk is made out of wood. Um, it used to be a tree. It's not a tree anymore, but it's still used, and it still has a new life and a new purpose to it. Um, yeah, it's not in the forest anymore. It's in my room. Same thing, a tree can be turned into paper, and you're like, well, that's just a piece of paper. That's not important. Yeah, but guess what? Someone can write a symphony on that, and it could be played, like, say, Beethoven, Mozart. They needed paper to write down the notes in order for it to be played. So when a tree is cut down, it gets to live a different life and go through a different experience. So, like I said, a tree can be probably cut down, made into a house, and all of a sudden now it's serving its purpose as shelter for someone, or it can be cut down and made into a table, and now people are gathering around and sitting and eating their meals at a table that used to be a tree. It could be turned into a musical instrument, and now people are enjoying music that's coming from an instrument that used to be a tree. And then you can say, well, there isn't any purpose in firewood if somebody stays warm, and then what keeps them alive? And then the ashes get thrown back into the ground, and that nourishes the soil for the next trees and plants to come up. So I don't feel like any of it is without a purpose. And it kind of makes you wonder, what about our life? Like after we finish this one, are we like a tree? Do we then experience a new part of life? Just not exactly the same, but kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but you know what I'm saying? Like we're not going to be physical anymore, but now we're in a spiritual body. So now we're experiencing something completely different, but yet we're still ourselves. So I don't know. I find beauty in nature. I hope you guys can get outside, outdoors now that it's cooler weather, and you can kind of like start paying attention to stuff out there that normally it just goes unnoticed. It's just kind of practicing gratitude, and which is a frequency close to love. So we want to practice gratitude and appreciation for the seasons changing, and all the gifts that are out there that are free in nature that you don't have to pay for. It's just out there. The rocks, the leaves, the feathers, and all kinds of stuff. So, well, I hope that gave you something to think about. And stay tuned, and it's going to be spooky ghost story time. Today's spooky ghost story is from the Big Book of Texas Ghost Stories by Ellen Brown. And the story is called The Prince Solom's Inn. And this occurred in
the city of New Braunfels, Texas. In 1898, Emily Egeline had the Comal Hotel built in New Braunfels, which was a small town of only 2,000 at the time. The enterprising woman was confident that in the future, visitors to the growing city would need a place to stay. 2 years later, Emily left to New Braunfels to care for relatives in Galveston who had been injured during a hurricane. Emily's family members took over the hotel in her absence and continued running it for many years. Today, Prince Solom's Inn is the oldest as well as the most haunted operational hotel in New Braunfels. The bed and breakfast ghost story begins in the 1900s when a young woman and her family booked rooms at the hotel a few days before her wedding. On the day of the wedding, the young woman stood inside the church, eagerly awaiting the arrival of her fiancé. 30 minutes after the young man was due to arrive, his bride began to weep uncontrollably. Her two overly protective brothers mounted their horses and rode off in search for the groom. When they returned, they informed her sister that her fiancé was nowhere to be found. Her family urged her to return home with them, but she refused because she was certain that the love of her life would eventually show up. A few days later, when it became clear to the hotel owners that her fiance would never arrive, they offered the distraught young woman a job to pay for her room and board. Eventually, she worked her way up to manager of the hotel. The story goes that the unfortunate woman remained at the hotel for the rest of her life, finally dying there in the 1920s or early 30s. Then in 1935, a new innkeeper saw a young man walk into the hotel and proceed down the hallway to the staircase. When she asked if he needed any help, the young man responded that he had come to the hotel to meet someone and continued ascending the stairs. Her curiosity piqued, the innkeeper watched the mysterious stranger climb the stairs. At the top of the staircase, a beautiful young woman in a wedding dress ran over to the young man and fell into his open embrace. As the couple kissed, they slowly faded away. The innkeeper was so flabbergasted by what she had just witnessed, she ran to the front of the hotel to find out if anyone else had seen the young man. Three men sitting on the porch confirmed that a young man had indeed entered the hotel, and one of them pointed to a horse tied to a post and said it was the young man's horse. The men did not believe the innkeeper's story, so they walked through the entire hotel, including the attic, the basement, and could not find a trace of the young man. The ghost of the bride has been seen a number of times since then. One guest walked into his room and he was shocked to find a woman in a wedding dress laying on his bed. Her smiling ghost has also been seen walking down the hallway on the second floor. And in 1960, an employee at the hotel saw the bride in the cellar. Today, the period antiques and stunning paintings and prints in the Prince Solom's Inn bed and breakfast transport guests back into the past. And so apparently does the faithful spirit of the young bride who continues her lonely vigil in her room. Well, what do you think about that? I mean, this ghost wasn't seen or at least talked about until she was already dead. And then all of a sudden he's appearing and they're acting like um he was going to be married to her or something. Like I wonder why he never showed up. I kind of wonder if he was like injured or even killed before he got to go to the wedding. I'm not sure, but what about the horse tied out front and the people saying the man rode up to the hotel on a horse? If he's a spirit, how is he being seen by everybody and somebody talking to him and him answering? And then he's riding a horse, but yet he's a spirit. It's like then the realms are crossing in between each other, which is kind of weird. And time, too. Like they say time isn't real, right? They say it's fluid, you go back, you go forward. I don't know all that, but This seems like it's all intertwined. Like, even though she was supposedly dead already in the 1930s, physically, spiritually, she, in the other realms or wherever she went, which was still at the hotel, she wasn't dead, and neither was he. So, kind of makes you go, hmm. But a lot of you already know where New Braunfels is. It's right outside of San Antonio, so maybe you want to stay there and see if you can see the bride and the groom there at that hotel. Anyway, I would like to shout out to my coworkers since they love to watch this. Cece, this is for you, and Jennifer, and Jimmy, and Sydney, and April, and whoever else watches this. But thank you guys for being so kind and supportive for me. And I will see you guys next full moon in October. So have a nice full moon tonight. You guys take care.